Sexual assault allegations roiling Washington and beyond have done more than just shine a spotlight on the accusations against Republican Roy Moore, Democrat Al Franken, and President Donald Trump. The legacy of the Clintons and former President Clinton's affair with Monica Lewinsky has also been under re-examination. It's something Hillary Clinton spoke about in an interview with WABC Radio Friday.
When credible allegations come forward, look at the contrast between Al Franken accepting responsibility, apologizing, and Roy Moore and Donald Trump, who have done neither.
Well, Trump fired back soon after in a tweet saying this: crooked Hillary Clinton is the worst and biggest loser of all time. She just can't stop, which is so good for the Republican Party. Hillary, get on with your life and give it another try in 3 years. Well, then, at an event last night marking the 25th anniversary of President Clinton's election, Hillary Clinton assessed all the attention she gets from Trump.
You know, I'm going to keep speaking out. Apparently, you know, my former opponent is obsessed with my speaking out. Apparently, there was somebody told me, tweet today. Honestly, between tweeting and golfing, how does he get anything done? I don't understand it. So maybe that's the whole point.
All right, here with me right now, CNN political analyst Julian Zelizer and Karun Demirjian. Good to see you both. So, Julian, you first. You know, this re-examination of the Clintons, is it potentially going to hurt the Democrats?
It could be problematic. Obviously, former President Clinton brings a lot of controversy and a lot of baggage 2020. So they have to do this in a way that doesn't actually bog down the 20. So they have to do this in a way that doesn't actually bog down the party if they're going to be very vocal at this moment.
And then, Karun, you know, Trump can't seem to help himself, whether it's, you know, criticizing or bringing up Hillary Clinton, or even most recently, you know, he did criticize Senator Al Franken when he's been relatively silent on, you know, Republican Roy Moore. But, you know, is the president kind of opening a big old can of worms, you know, given his admission on that Access Hollywood tape of assaulting women, grabbing their privates, and not speaking any further about it? Instead, he, on the campaign trail, he actually threatened that he'd be suing those accusers.
Yes, I mean, I think everybody, it's a very, very transparent move. The president's in a glass house. He's throwing stones. Everybody remembers a year ago. Everybody kind of knows the full story there, except for the president, who seems to have a blind spot to his own history in this one. He is taking, though, a shot where he sees a shot, and he likes to do that when he sees, you know, Democrats that he can pounce on for an issue, especially when he feels like that's going to deflect attention away from something that is detrimental to him. And even though we weren't really actively still talking about the president's own admission of what, you know, what he does and what he thinks he can do and the accusations that were against him from a year ago, the spotlight was on Roy Moore, and that was a complicated situation for the president because he has not spoken out about that. He is trying to stay away from it as much as possible, but that is a very, very big story as the rest of the GOP distances themselves from Roy Moore as much as they possibly can, and he vows to stay in the race. So Franken shows up, kind of shows that this is, you know, seen from the outside, the revelations about Al Franken are just a reminder that sexual harassment and assault do not know any political party. They transcend, you know, party politics. But for the president, it was a chance to point a finger in the opposite direction, and he did so the way he impulsively does so with many people, including, you know, former Secretary of State Clinton. And that seems like it was a deflecting measure as much as possible, but one that has backfired because everybody knows who the messenger is, and the messenger has his own allegations against him.
And Julian, you know, president traditionally is supposed to be kind of a leader of morality, you know, and helping to lead in particular in a variety of crises, and whether it be about race relations and what took place in Charlottesville, Virginia, or now it's about this, you know, burgeoning issue of sexual assault and allegations of harassment, etc. I mean, this president, perhaps he really can't talk about the issue of sexual harassment. So, you know, is his role as the president kind of changing traditions in a very large way about what the expectations are of a U.S. president?
Well, it's a problem if he can't provide moral clarity on an issue like this. I think you're absolutely right. this is one of the roles of the president, and sometimes there are things where a president needs to take a stand. We saw Lyndon Johnson do this with civil rights. But the president can't do that. Part of this is because of all the accusations that are there against him. And part of it is hard to explain. The silence on Roy Moore is pretty stunning, given he isn't actually silent on the issue. He was happy to tweet about Senator Franken in a relatively short period of time. So that kind of inconsistency, combined with his own record, takes him out of the picture, and he will not be a moral leader on this issue. Doesn't mean
Is that
future
perhaps picking and
presidents won't.
choosing politics versus morality overall? Because Al Franken
That's what
is
it
a
looks like.
Democrat.
That's what it looks like.
It's a strange situation, though, because, again, this kind of goes back to the character of the president and his own personality. Trump does not do well with criticism. He doesn't do well with perceiving a slight.
Well, look
If
what
he
just
were a
happened with
little
the
bit-
UCLA situation.
Exactly.
The father of one of the UCLA players, was critical of the role of the president, and the president tweeted out that, and I guess we can pull it up really quickly. The president tweeting, now that the 3 basketball players are out of China and saved from years in jail, LeVar Bell, the father of LiAngelo, is unaccepting of what I did for his son, and that shoplifting is no big deal. I should have left them in jail.
Yeah, that is to say that you should have left someone in jail. Look, the president and much of the diplomatic staff of the government have to help a lot of American citizens, whether or not they agree and whether or not they are then, in a sign of gratitude, going to go out and say Trump is the best person ever. To say that he should have left them in jail is a really startling sort of a thing. But again, this is just an example of what I was just saying before, which is that, the president does not do well with perceived slights or actual slights. And to be able to have a turnaround and take that moral high ground, or at least reestablish, recenter himself, it would actually take the presence of self to be able to say, you know what, I am not proud of what I was accused of, and I acknowledge those accusations might have merit, but
There's no
I
pattern
see
of that
now that
happening.
there's going, right, exactly. But that's
That
what would
won't
have to happen, and it's just not. So, to Julian's point, that he's not going to be the voice on this one, even though it would help if he could try to be.
The leadership will have to come from other areas
Right.
politically. I think that's a realistic assessment of the situation.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Thank you so much. This Sunday, Julian Zell